Hi everyone. In today's video, we're going to talk about what you need to know when you buy your first property and what things to expect. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy. In this channel, we give you health and wealth tips to help you be successful. And today's video, I'm with my friend Jeremy here.
How you guys doing?
Who just bought a new property, and he has some questions. He's figuring out how to build up his real estate empire. So he has some questions we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so as you know, I just got my first property, and I want to do some renovations to increase the value. What are some things that I should keep in mind when dealing with contractors and getting repairs or work done?
So we were talking about this a little bit earlier. My brother is a union contractor or a union carpenter, and he makes a lot of money. He makes about 50 bucks an hour, and I learned through him that a lot of these skilled trades are really high demand. So plumbers, electricians are making $200,000-$300,000, a lot of money, more than some of my friends that are doctors and therapists.
Yeah.
So we as homeowners or people that own buildings, you're gonna pay a lot of money if you need some of these skilled crafts, like electricity or plumbing work done in your house. So the best thing to do is to build up a team, and we talked about a little bit about this earlier. Find some handyman in your area through Craigslist or Angie's List or something like that. Have them come out and help you with some minor jobs. Even like TaskRabbit is good. That's an app where you can call people. There's been times where I've been out of town and I couldn't go like unplug a toilet or something, and I had someone come over to the house and unplug a toilet for me for 60 bucks. And even though it's super easy, people do not like to touch toilets, because they don't like to see what might be in there. So plumbers are going to charge you 200 bucks easy.
Wow.
And people cannot be without toilets, especially if it's late at night and you're on vacation for a week, and you need to go on your trips and stuff. You need to live your life. So you need to find a team of people that can help alleviate some of that, especially if you're at work or something. Also, something can happen during the day. And as you get to figure out and you develop relationships with these people, see who's the most dependable. That's real important. I have 4 plumbers that I use, and only one is dependable. And he's only dependable maybe 75% of the time. So I sometimes have to go to the list and call all 4 of them and see who's willing to come. And sometimes when even all 4 of those don't work, I still have to go on TaskRabbit and call someone. But usually I can find someone to fix something if I have a team. So don't get one person, one electrician, one plumber. Get multiple guys, because those guys might be busy. They might not be available. And also learn how to do some of the stuff if you can on your own. Go on YouTube, get some books, practice. If you can't fix it, call your plumber, your electrician while they're there. Sit with them, have them teach you. That we can ask them questions. Sometimes I've even done the repairs under their supervision, just so I know I can learn how to do it, because it's valuable. We were talking earlier. I called an electrician out, and he wanted 600 bucks, and he came out. He did the work. It was an hour and a half. I mean, that's a lot of money. Changing lights, $250. Unplugging a toilet, $200. Those are things you can do in 10, 20 minutes. So that's real important. Figure out reliable people that you can work with, that you get along with, and that are not going to price gouge you, so you can still make a money. This is a business, so you need to manage all the outputs. You can't be spending a lot of money on materials and on labor and skilled trades, because you're not going to make anything. But obviously you do want to pay them fairly, but you want to develop a relationship where there's a win-win. You're both making some money. So that's the big one. Is you're asking about contractors, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing is make sure you get things in writing. That costs a lot of conflict. In fact, sometimes people don't like to write stuff down because they get kind of weird. They think you're going to sue them or something like that. So I tell them only to communicate with me through text. Text only. Okay, you're going to do this plumbing, you're going to do this electrical, and you itemize exactly what's going to be done. And then you say, okay, you're going to do this toilet, you're going to change this faucet, you're going to do this wax ring or whatever. And you're going to charge me $250, correct? Yes, okay. You get it on text. Because a lot of times, it could just be a simple mistake, like yourself is, you're busy and these guys are busy and they're talking to a lot of people. They may forget the prices they give you. So I like to get it on text because you don't want to have any problems with these guys. You need each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. So I want to make sure that I'm maintaining good relationships with these folks. So I get it in text, and that way when they say, "Hey man, this just happened to me a few days ago. I had this guy come to my mom's house. He installed a mini split.
Yeah.
He told me $350. When he was finished, he told me $550. I told him, dude, you told me $350. He goes, no, I didn't. Well, it's no way. That's way too low. I said, well, look, here's the text. You just sent it to me like a week ago. He goes, oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, all right. But if I wouldn't have showed it to him, he got really upset. He was going to start arguing with me. That would have definitely damaged our relationship. I don't want that. I need his help. So it's in both parties' interest. You don't get ripped off, and so that you can maintain the relationship to get things in writing. Never pay things up front. Never. That's a big mistake. I had this hardwood floor guy. I mean, it's happened to me dozens of times. It still happens sometimes. This guy was doing my floors. He said, okay, I need to buy the materials. And I thought, okay, this makes sense. He goes, yeah, I need to buy the oil, the stain. I gave him $1,000. He disappeared. I called him. I did everything I could. He just disappeared. So, he didn't really need that at that point. He needed to sand the floor first. I really should have had him sand the floor first, do some work, and then pay. So everything you do, pay in arrears. Don't pay up front. They're always going to tell you, I need a deposit. I need a check to get started. Don't do that. They're going to say, I need it because I need to buy materials or whatever. Don't. Make them start the job, make them do some work, and pay them as they go. So that way they don't have an incentive to leave. They have an incentive to actually finish the job. And yeah, that's a really big mistake. And sometimes I get pressured into it. And sometimes towards the end of the job, I already build a rapport with someone. They're like, I'm thinking, yeah, I've been working with this guy for 6 months. He's not going to do anything. He's cool. And I'll pay him. Boom, he'll disappear. And not to say that all handymen and construction people are like that, but they work for themselves and they're used to calling the shots. And a lot of times they have problems with people telling them what to do. And I just think it attracts a lot of people that are independent, free-spirited, I think. And like my brother was telling me, a lot of people that have criminal records go into construction because they don't do background checks and it pays really well. So you might get characters that, are used to a different type of lifestyle. So don't give them the chance to rip you off. The other thing is that materials, like I only buy the materials as they're needed. Because I've had contractors where I bought all these materials from, and then they went into the building and they stole everything. And then they use that to either extort me for some money or not do the job, and they go sell this stuff to someone else. Another one we were talking about earlier is that they'll say, hey, I'm gonna need $10,000 for materials. Go buy all these materials for me, or I'm trying to keep track of what they're buying. So I go buy the materials, and you need to watch what they're doing with the materials. Make sure they're using them. If they tell you to buy 3 sinks or 4 sinks, and you only need 2 sinks, you need to ask for questions. And check on some of the stuff. Don't be afraid to ask questions about why they're needing it, what they need it for. Do it in a curious way, not that you're questioning them, more like you want to learn. Because a lot of times, I'd probably say the number one trick people do is they overbuy materials with your money. When you give them lines of credit at Home Depot, you say, hey, because Home Depot will allow that. You can have what's called a pro account. Lowe's does the same thing. A lot of hardware stores do it. You say, hey, I'm busy. I'm just going to open a line of credit. I'll let my plumber buy the stuff he needs. You get billed for it. It's very convenient, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. Like anything else in life, when you're lazy, you're going to pay for it. So if you're lazy and you do that, I have a lot of friends that do that. That are doctors and therapists and professionals. And I get it. Your opportunity cost is high. You're busy. But, this could cost you thousands. I just had a plumber a few days ago. I estimated the materials to be worth about $7,000. He told me that it was going to cost $10,000 and up. And he told me to give him my credit card to go buy it for me. I told him, hey, you know what? I'm only thinking it's going to be about $7,000. He said, well, what's a few thousand? It's a lot of money.
All right, so what's a few thousand to you then?
So you don't want to be put in that type of situation, and you don't want to have to be arguing with people or suing people or taking them to small claims court. That's very time intensive. So avoid that whole situation. Get it in writing or get it in text. Pay in arrears, and keep track of stuff. And I like to show up at the jobs unannounced when they're working. Whenever I have time, and just take a look around for a few minutes and just show that I have an interest and show that I'm looking at stuff. You know, I did this construction project on this house for this guy. And I hired a whole team of guys. And I was really busy. I was working a lot in the clinics. Mm-hmm. And I kept texting this one guy, and he would take hours to respond. And several times I showed up, he wasn't there. And this guy was actually my sister-in-law's brother. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of related to me. Mm-hmm. And I asked the guys, where is this guy? What's going on? And they said, you know, I don't want to get involved. I said, you know, tell me. They wouldn't tell me. So I started sitting outside, and I said what I learned was this guy was showing up in the morning. He would text me and take a picture of what he was working on, which is what I was requiring everybody to do. Mm-hmm. Then he would disappear the whole day and come back at the end of the day before I got off work. And when I got off work, he was working on the same thing. Wow. So I was paying this guy for weeks on end, and he wasn't actually doing the work. So that's another thing. Paying people by the hour can be tough because you don't know what they're doing if you're not there to micromanage, and you don't really want to do that either. Mm-hmm. So whenever possible, try to get multiple estimates for a job and pay someone for a job so they can do it at their leisure, at their time. You don't have to be managing their time for them or worrying about whether or not they're wasting, you know, overcharging you for the time. That's big. So contractors are your friends. You need them, but they can be your worst nightmare. You can end up in a lot of lawsuits because of them. We've had a lot of problems with that, with lawsuits with them. They can put liens on your property. There could be a lot of issues. So make sure when you start, also get a picture of their ID, get a picture of their license. Oh, another thing is probably half the guys that I've met, they lie about having a contractor's license. They'll put a contractor's license on a contract, and it's a fake one, or it belongs to someone else. So I like to ask them for their name and look up the license. It takes like 30 seconds. You go online, Google Department of Consumer Affairs contractor's license. It comes up a little window. You punch in the 10-digit number, it'll come up. It'll show the name of the person. And you're going to see a lot of the guys that you're going to meet, it's not going to be the person that's working for you. Oh, wow. It's a very common thing. I've had it done to me many times. So, you know, sometimes they don't need to be licensed to do the job, but what they'll do is they'll use the license to charge you double. You don't want to pay contractor prices for a handyman. You know, they'll charge you double, like that estimate you were showing earlier. Yeah. You want to make sure the guy's actually a licensed contractor. You're paying $350 for an outlet. You want a contractor. You don't want a handyman that normally charges $50 for it. Mm-hmm. So that's big. So now that you walked me through like dealing with the contractors, what are the projects or the aspects that someone should focus on when they're trying to increase the value of a property? Okay, so look at your house as if you're going to sell it. And I want you, what you could do is, I like to talk to real estate agents, and I talk to my lender, and I also talk to the property appraisers. So if you bought your property recently, you probably had an appraiser come out. Get a copy of your appraisal report and review it. And those are usually like 30, 40 pages. And there's a lot of information in there. And that's where you learn some very, very interesting things. That's where I learned that trees were worth $10,000. Crazy. So fruit trees can be worth up to $15,000. Oh wow! And then over the years, I talked to bankers, I talked to other appraisers, and they said, yeah, mature trees are worth a lot of money. A lot of people are busy chopping their trees down because they're actually reducing their property value. So through that report is where I learned that. And I learned other things, like there was this one house that we were working on, and I noticed they added $30,000 to the value of the property, and it was because of it had a view of the city of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, okay. Another building that we were working on, all we had to do was trim down some hedges, and we would have a view of LA, and that would have added $30,000. So we did, and it added $30,000 to it.
That's crazy.
So views are big, like views of canyons, mm-hmm. Cities, like parks, trees, gardens, like curb appeal. Mm-hmm. So think of the house as if you're gonna sell it. And sure, putting new electrical, putting new plumbing is worth a lot, and the banks value that. But buyers don't value that so much because they can't visually see it. It's almost like buying a car. They're gonna buy the car that looks the nicest.
Yeah.
They're not gonna look at the engine and see how good the engine runs, even though that's the most important part of the car. So home buyers are the same way, and renters are the exact same way, even more, because they're renting a place and they want it to look aesthetically pleasing. So things that are really inexpensive add a lot of value to your house, whether you're selling it or you're renting it. Lights are a big deal. Buy nice light fixtures always. Invest a lot of money in the kitchen and the bathroom. Obviously, those are big points, and those are big selling points too. People oftentimes will go straight to the kitchen when they're going to rent a house. So what I learned in some books I was reading is when I'm going to rent a house, I actually have some candles I bought at Home Depot. They're inside of these glass jars, and they smell like cookie dough. And I light those in the house, and I burn them. There's all these studies done that when people come into the house and they smell fresh baked cookies, it makes it feel like home, and they actually want to rent it or buy it.
Wow, yeah.
So you can go to the extent of baking cookies, but I just bought candles that smell like cookie dough, and I burn those. Those are big. Make sure it smells good. I work a lot on the curb appeal, so the outside garden is important. Make everything look comfortable. Like if you have a garden, put some nice living spaces, put a nice shade up, put some nice lounge chairs. And when you're talking to the prospective tenant or buyer, sit in those chairs with them and just kind of relax and talk to them about things that are like interesting or relaxing. Ask them about their job, ask them about what their hobbies are, things they like. And then the people start feeling more comfortable psychologically, and subconsciously they're going to be more likely to rent or buy your building. So those are big. I look at comfort. Comfort are big. I always make sure I have a nice doormat in front of the door. That one's messy right now. I need to clean that off. But things that feel welcoming to people, that make them feel like they want to live in the house. I never show houses without curtains. Although this house right now, we haven't gotten all the curtains on it yet. But I always like to have curtains on the walls, on the windows, because that makes it feel more comfortable, makes it feel more livable. And these are things that you learn in real estate books and psychological studies and stuff like that. That makes it a lot easier. That's why a lot of home builders will go to the expense to stage buildings before they sell them.
I noticed that, yeah.
They'll rent furniture because it makes it feel more comfortable, and they've done all these studies where they can actually get like 10 to 15% higher on the selling price by having it staged. So if you're going to sell a building, you can actually do the same thing. You can go to a staging company. They're in every big city now. You can rent some of their furniture, have them stage your house. It might cost $1,000 or $2,000, but if you're selling a $500,000 house and you get 10% more, you make 50 grand. So staging is really good. In terms of rentals, like when you're renting it, you could either stage, or what I do is when I get good tenants that rent the place and they make it look really nice, I'll go through and I'll ask them, hey, can I take some pictures? And I'll take some really nice pictures of the house, of their nice furniture, and I'll keep it in a portfolio, and I'll use those pictures for years and years. And actually, I'll share with you some pictures of a designer that actually rented this house here. This woman was incredible. She was really creative, but she had just regular jobs. She was struggling. She kept losing her jobs. And then, I think she just wasn't finding her place. But she found her passion, which was design. And she got this old house, and she started painting the kitchen these weird colors.
Oh, wow.
I thought was weird. And she went to the thrift store, and she started, decorating it with thrift store furniture. And she wrote this book. And it was basically like a collage of all her pictures. And it was called, I forgot what it was called, but her website is thejungalow.com. This book went to a New York Times bestseller list. She became famous. Long story short, she moved out of here. She has a furniture line at Target, a furniture line at Living Spaces. She has all sorts of products with her name on it. Her name is Justina Blakeney. She's done really well for herself, and she did it because she was creative. And I had the opportunity and the fortune to get some really nice pictures of her house that she shared with me that she put in her books. And those pictures have been a lifesaver. When I put them on the buildings, like, wow, people just, they ask me, can I rent it with that furniture? Can I rent it with that furniture?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have the same talents that she does, but it goes a long way. So try to make a stockpile of nice pictures.
Definitely.
So, and they also help you if you're doing Airbnb.
Definitely.
Same thing. You want to have nice pictures.
Okay. Now, I know you have multiple properties. Do you have a particular system as far as collecting the rent? How do you go about that?
We manage a lot of properties, and what we do is some people I know, they give the tenants a bank account that they'll use, and they'll have them deposit directly into that account every month. Now, different people we work with have different strategies. That's one strategy. I know people that have LLCs. They'll have a bank account just for that LLC because it's easier for taxes to show the inflows and outflows. And they'll have all the tenants from that property deposit their money directly into that bank account, and they'll pay for expenses for that property. So that makes the bookkeeping a lot easier. Now, I personally do not collect rents from people because it's dangerous. You don't know what's going on. There's other people that could be watching you. We've been robbed before. We had mailboxes that were locked where we had people that would come drop rent off every month. And it could have been those same tenants. It could have been their friends. It could have been neighbors. I don't know who it was. We don't tell anybody, but people would actually break in. And sometimes we had tenants that were paying cash, and the cash was stolen. So, it's hard to say who did it. So we've learned over the years, now we put cameras up, and we use secured mailboxes. We put these mailboxes that are like really strong metal. They're like made out of iron. And we allow people only to pay in checks. No cash, never. Because cash is just too many problems. It attracts too much attention. If someone were to steal all your mail, you can cancel checks. I'll accept cashier's checks sometimes, but I really don't like those either. I tell people to use checks because cashier checks can be the same issue. But if the person keeps the receipt, they can go cancel it and get their money, but it takes time. And what I've learned is that people that steal can actually cash those cashier checks before the cancellation process can go through. So I let them know, if you're going to pay a cashier's check and it gets stolen, it's on your dime. You're going to pay for it. So you're assuming the risk, so that you don't want to assume it for the tenant. You make them aware that if they're going to do that, they're going to take on that risk, that if it gets stolen and they're not able to cancel it on time, they're going to have to pay that rent again. They're going to be held responsible for it. So checks are the best way to do it. Stick to checks. It's the safest. And also, it's just something about having a face-to-face with people collecting money from them that is just not very good. You got someone that might be struggling that month and they're paying you $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever, and they see you coming, you're feeling good, you're happy because you're like, hey man, I'm gonna collect my $2,000, I'm happy. That person might not be feeling too happy, and they're gonna start seeing you with some animosity, and it's just normal. It's just the way it is. You just gotta accept it as part of the business. And I don't want to foster that type of negative relationship with tenants. So I don't give them that kind of FaceTime. I kind of give them their space. They rent a space. I don't talk to them too much on the phone. In fact, I don't talk to them at all. I only talk through text because I want records of conversations. And I talk to them through emails. If you talk to them through phone, they could say you told them something you didn't, or they could say you forgot. And that way, again, if you do it through text, there's a record of everything. There's no miscommunication, and you don't get into this problem of having disputes over people about things that you may have not have said. And that way, they don't associate me with taking $2,000 from a month. You want to make it as impersonal as possible, and just have them submit the check somewhere. A strategy you can try is like in your house, you can put a separate mailbox. That's a sturdy one that's locked, and you put a sign on it that says no mail. And you tell the tenants, okay, on the 1st of the month or the 3rd or whenever your checks are, your rent are due, you have them drop it in that mailbox. And then you go in there, afterwards, and in the evening, whatever, you collect the rent, you go cash them. I don't do face-to-face. I don't think it's a good idea. You know, I had one guy that would come to my house that would pay me, and then he would tell me he was gonna shoot me, beat me up and stuff. So he would get upset whenever there was a rent increase, and he would blame me personally. So it helps with rent increases and stuff like that also. When you increase people's rents, they're not going to be happy. They're never going to be like, oh, great, you raised my rent. But it's part of the business. You got to do it, and they're not going to understand that your property taxes go up every year, your insurance goes up every year, your water bills go up every year, everything goes up. There's inflation. But tenants are never going to understand that. They're never going to side with you. So, you know, you're going to make it harder on yourself too, raising rents when you do a lot of FaceTime. You're going to feel like, God, you know, he's such a nice guy, and, you know, he's always on time, and I'm going to feel bad looking at him next time because he's going to be upset at me because I raised his rent. By not having that FaceTime, you remove that, and you make it impersonal, and every year or whatever it is you raise your rent, you just send them the notice through the mail or you post on their door. It's just, you raise your rent. That's it. It's part of life, you know? So it makes things a lot easier like that. We keep it impersonal. And when they insult you or they get upset or something, I never respond. I just don't acknowledge that stuff. I only acknowledge things that I need to acknowledge that are concerning things that need to get fixed or their rent or something like that. But don't ever respond or react to negative behavior or insults or anything like that, because they can also record that and use it against you and sue you and say you're harassing them or you abused them or something like that. And there's people that will set you up for that. So you got to be conscientious of that. Never engage in any kind of negative behavior. In fact, I'll just tell you this one last story, a quick story. My friend Christmas told me when I first started managing buildings, never sleep with the women that you rent to. And I thought, okay, well, I wasn't thinking about that, but I never thought about it. And we had an open house, and a bunch of really beautiful women showed up. And they just kept touching me. Yeah. And rubbing me and rubbing my arms. And I remember I saw my friend Christmas's face in my head. And I remember when she told me, I thought, oh man, this is what she's talking about. And then one time it went to the extent that I was sitting on a couch with a woman the way you and I are sitting. Yeah. And she actually turned like this, and she was wearing a miniskirt. Wow. And she got up and excused herself and asked me to go to the restroom. And I said, sure. She went to the restroom. She came back, she sat down, and she removed her underwear. And she opened her legs, and she just kept talking to me like if nothing was happening. And I was like, I didn't comment on it because I learned from another friend, you don't talk about that stuff. Obviously, I saw it because I couldn't avoid it. It was right in front of me. She's going like this to me. Yeah. I just kept talking. And she smiled, and she kept asking me rental questions, and then she just kept grinning, and she started rubbing me. And I just kind of smiled, and I stood up, and I kind of walked away a little bit, and I said, okay, well, thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any more questions, and I'm happy to answer them for you. Obviously, I was not interested in renting to her, and I didn't follow through on it, but you don't put that stuff on a camera or on someone's recorder. You just don't talk about it. You don't mention anything. You act like it's not happening. I have a friend that's at UCLA. He's a professor. He actually works in the medical school, and he's one of the doctors who reviews the admissions. He tells me that students come in there for a few years and just collect, off your cash flow off the building. So I do a lot of market research. Is the short answer. And look at what they want. I try not to look at what I want because my likes are different. Yeah, definitely. Unless it's something like solar panels, that's big for me. Like we were talking about earlier, it's a good investment for you and for your buildings. So I try to make investments like that. Okay. How do you leverage? So I just got my first property, my first multi-unit property. What are some of the strategies you use going from your first one to your second one? How did you? Man, that's a good question. I like your questions because these are questions a lot of people ask me. So I like that we can actually go over this on film and it'll help some other people. So actually in the United States, it's really easy to scale up. Now, if you've never bought a house or you just bought your first house, you're probably thinking, what do you mean it's easy? It's easy. Fortunately for us in the United States, there's a lot of money available and we have really low interest rates. People here have no idea go to Mexico, go to Africa, go to somewhere in Asia, you're gonna get mortgages on properties that are like 4 or 5 times what the interest we pay here.
Wow.
If you tell somebody you're paying 3.5%, 4% on a mortgage, they're gonna laugh. I think you told me how much was yours?
2.125.
Yeah, 2.1. That's just to give you an idea how low that is. 2.1. You deduct that on your taxes, you get 30% back. So we'll say that's 0.7. So your real interest rate is 1.4. If inflation is averaging about 3%, which it is in the United States, you subtract the 3% inflation from that 1.4, your interest rate is actually negative 1.6.
Wow.
So you don't want to make extra payments on your mortgage.
Yeah. Wow.
So
wow.
In other countries, you have really high inflation, really high interest rates. Because when you have high inflation, let's say a bank lends you $100. They have 10% inflation. At the end of the year, it's only worth $90. So the bank is automatically going to charge you 11, 12, 15% because they know that 10% they're going to lose the inflation. So they won't make anything beyond that. So my cousins, my friends that live in other countries, most of them are paying double digits for mortgage rates. So what that does is it allows a lot of cheap money and an abundance of money to be available in the United States. Now, I didn't know this when I first started out and I was helping people buy properties. I didn't know how available it was until I met my friend Mike Johnstone. This guy was a game changer. He taught me a lot. This guy was like 50 years in the real estate business. He's an icon. He owns buildings all over. I mean, this guy's been a really good mentor for me. And he taught me about hard money loans. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, that sounds like mafia.
Someone come with the gun for me,
Someone breaking my knees.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I don't know if I want to get involved in that. He's like, Ernesto, no, it's not like that. It's a regular bank. I said, okay, it's just a name. So then I went and I was talking to a friend, and what we did was there was this property we wanted to buy and we couldn't buy it. I wasn't working. I had actually just broken my leg. So I had no income coming in. I had nothing. But I had some assets. So what we did was we went to a hard money lender, which was actually the same loan broker that gave me a loan on a building, right? At my parents' house, I think it was. And I said, do you offer hard money loans? He goes, yeah. And I was, okay. So most loan brokers actually do offer that as part of their portfolio. And he gave me the rates on it. It actually was not that unreasonable. The rate at that time on a mortgage loan was like 3.5%. It was recently. It was still low. The hard money loan was 5%. So it was only 1.5% more. And the points on the loan, instead of charging 1%, it was 2 points.
Okay.
So usually on a loan, they charge you 1%. So if you borrow $100,000, the bank's going to charge you like $1,000 in loan fees. In this case, the hard money loan, they charge you $2,000.
Okay.
Now, you might say, well, why do I want to pay that extra money? Well, because, for example, in LA, who knows now, because prices are probably going to decline because of the coronavirus. But we've been averaging over 10% appreciation a year. So if you buy a $500,000 property here, which is average, you're going to make about $50,000 for the year in appreciation. Now, if you pay an extra 1% on a loan, that's only $5,000. So do you mind paying $5,000 in loan fees to make $50,000? Yeah. So you need to spend money to make money. And a lot of people don't get that point, and that's why they don't get wealthy, because they have the scarcity mentality. They're afraid to invest, they're afraid to take risks, and they try to save money. I try to save money wherever I can, but on certain things you can't. So on this particular property with my friend, we took out a hard money loan at the 7%. We bought the property at $440,000. We spent $70,000 fixing it up, so our cost came out to $510,000. In 1 year, we appraised it, and to refinance the loan into a regular loan that paid 3.5% instead of paying the 5%, and it appraised at $850,000 after we did the repairs.
Oh wow!
So we basically made about $340,000 in 1 year on this one property. So sure, we paid an extra $5,000 in loan fees, but we made 300,000 on it. So it's big. So how do you scale up? There's a lot of strategies you can find on YouTube. I really like hard money loans because hard money loans are good. If you buy your first property, hone your skills, read a lot of books, become a good landlord, learn how to maintain your property, get a team together, get your go-to electrician, your plumber, your guys that you work with. Once you get all that together, you're stable, you got under control, you have good tenants, you kind of understand how it works. Use that property to get another property. What you do is, let's say that property has some equity. It has, $100,000 in equity. You can go to a hard money lender and say, hey, look, I'll give you that $100,000 in collateral for you to lend me another 300 or 400 to buy this other property. And they'll say, okay. Then they have something that they can fall back on in case you don't make the payments on that other property. That's how a lot of people I work with usually do it. In fact, some of the hard money lenders that we've worked with, or my friends I work with, or my customers, we've developed such a relationship that they'll do zero down hard money loans.
Oh, wow.
Just because they know we have, or they have other assets, they'll say, okay, you know what, let me put a lien on this other property. I've done some where they took no liens, where they said, you know what, this property you're buying, because remember, these are real estate people. They know what they're doing. These hard money guys are real estate people. They do it themselves. They buy buildings, they flip them. I've talked to a lot of them. I have one guy I work with. His name is funny because his name is Gino. He sounds like an Italian mafia guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he actually tells me, Ernesto, he coaches me, teaches me. He goes, dude, I just flipped this building, 40-unit building. I did this, I did that. And I listen. I absorb as much as I can. Humble people with an open ear are the most successful. Be willing to learn, be teachable. This guy teaches me a lot. I'm really grateful. Him, my friend Mike Johnstone, my friend Christmas, my other friend John Nestler. I have a bunch of friends that have a lot of experience. They teach me. He tells me, he looks at the building. He says, look, man, you guys want $400,000 to buy this property. I did the profile on it. I see it's worth about $800,000. He says, how much do you think you could fix it for? I tell him, you know what, I think we could fix it for $100. He goes, okay, so you think you could clear $300 on it? He says, yeah. He says, okay, I'm going to go drive by it. He does a drive-by. He has an idea. He says, you know what, you're right. I think you can make $300. I'm going to lend you the $400,000 at whatever, 8%, 9%. He charges a little more. He gives us the loan. We buy the property. At the end of the day, some of these guys, like him, they have this big pool of money. And it's not all theirs. Some of it is investors. Because I remember last time he had me speak to the investor who was going to actually lend us the money for the hard money loan. And he was a retired gentleman from Palm Springs, and he was an Orthodox Jew. And I remember I was talking to him on the phone, really nice guy, and he just had a few questions. I think he just wanted to get a feel that I knew what I was talking about, what I was doing. I talked to him for 5 minutes. He felt comfortable. He talked to the hard money loan. He told him, you know what, lend him whatever he wants. He lent us the money with nothing down. We got the property. We paid him back in a year, and then you refinance into a lower interest loan.
Okay.
When possible, you move into the property. You get an owner-occupied loan. Those are lower interest rate. You do obviously have to occupy it for a little while, so you move into it. You get the lower interest loan. You move on to the next project, and you just keep scaling. Thank you again for listening. And from Los Angeles, this is Ernesto.
This is Jeremy.
And thank you again. If you haven't, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.